Hey guys, it's Devin here. Welcome to another episode of the Hot Mess Podcast, where we talk about serious or difficult topics in a casual setting. I'm Devin.
I'm Stephanie.
And today we have our first actually outside question being posed to us. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into what that question is. But today's topic is why clear communication is critical. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, let's talk about our question for today. So our question today comes from a young man who is looking to get married soon here within the next coming months and is dealing with trying to establish a relationship with his father-in-law, get his
future father-in-law.
I said, yeah,
hopeful
future hopeful
father-in-law.
Father-in-law to be.
Hopefully.
Yeah, his suegro futuro. Hopefully. So but the question is how do you go about asking for permission to get his daughter's hand in marriage? How do you do that? And so I think the only way for me to really go about talking about this is really talk about my experience and then the experience of others that we've known that have had more difficult, challenging times with this, because everybody has their own. I think now in American culture, it's less prevalent for men to ask women's fathers, "Hey, I would like your blessing." But before, that was pretty.
Yeah, it's
pretty
still
standard.
like
It's
it
still, I think
happens
it's fairly
in
standard.
more conservative circles, even if they're not like Christian circles, but still conservative circles.
If you come from a good
popular
family, I believe that it's pretty much expected that there's going to be at least a conversation.
Yeah, and maybe not permission, but blessing.
Yeah,
but
blessing and explanation. It's funny. I don't really, I need to. I know my parents have kind of been through this on the receiving end of that. I'm not looking forward to that, but I remember with Stephanie. So kind of our situation when we started dating. I was living in South Texas. I was doing missionary work in Mexico, teaching at a Bible school. She was in Arizona, and so there's pretty big distance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so getting married to me meant not just leaving her family, but like moving, more than a, what was it, like 17-hour, 18-hour drive away. I mean,
it was a jaunt.
Yeah, it wasn't a small thing. It was, hey, she's not going to be part of your daily life. But I think for me, so I'm a people person, and I always try. I kind of feel like it's.
You
unfair.
You see everybody as a potential friend.
Yes, I do.
So you approach every person in that way, even if you have no ulterior motive, right? Like in the case of befriending my father, sure, you wanted him to like you, but I feel like you would have been the same even if that wasn't your motive. Like you're still very friendly. You are always looking for like common ground. You're establishing relationships with pretty much everyone you meet.
So like keys to just building friends is just look for common ground, and anything that you can do to put that other person at ease or to connect with them. Anything you can do to kind of mirror where they're coming from, I think is always helpful. But sometimes it can be difficult. I know people who before you're like, hey, so do you like this, that? And they're like, no. And then it's kind of like, well, what do you like? And usually I found that if you just keep on kind of prying, I want to say, because some people are just, they're not talkers. They get on, they're uncomfortable. They're, they don't know how to act in the situation. And even though they may not show it, they may be just as nervous as you. And so the best way is just keep on kind of asking them questions like, hey, what are you passionate about? And usually you can find that thing. And if you can't connect to it, if you can't relate, you can just ask them, to kind of educate you on that. And then that always helps because then they're the expert in that category.
Yeah.
So with my father-in-law, I'd always had an interest in hunting and stuff like that, but he was an avid hunter. And so he enjoyed getting to educate me on that. And we got along really well. But the one thing that that I did, I guess the important thing that I would say that I did that gave me success with my father-in-law, and I think what gave us a really good relationship is before asking for his daughter's hand, I got to talk to him. I talked to him about like politics and just kind of everything. I built this rapport with him of asking him what his thoughts were and then trying to share common ground with those thoughts.
Yeah.
And
I think the important point that you're exemplifying is that you were not pursuing permission. You were pursuing a relationship with my dad, right? And I think that's where that's really, really important. Because if all you're wanting to do is to go to this man and be like, I want to marry your daughter, and then walk away, and that's like the gist of your relationship, that's going to be a lot harder, especially if you're approaching someone who isn't necessarily, an extrovert or super friendly or super talkative, right? But with any of those people, if you come to them and you're genuinely interested in getting to know them and them getting to know you, people respond to that, right? Because everybody, even the quietest people, like to feel important, like to feel seen, like to feel heard, right? And so if you can come to these people, and this isn't just for this particular instance, but it's what we're talking about, come to them and it's not, I have an ulterior motive, right?
Yeah.
I don't actually care if we become friends or if I really get to know you, or if
I
ever talk to you again, right?
We'll
because that vibe will come across even if you never say those words, but it will be evident because you won't actually be trying to get to know them, right? You'll just be like, what can I say to get you to say yes, right? But if you come because like eventually, like, I'm a good person, I'm a good guy, you want me to marry your daughter, I know this, but you don't know that yet, and that's fair, right? So I'm going to take this time for you to get to know me, but also because hopefully we'll become at least friendly.
Yeah.
I will also want to get to know you. And I think if you approach it that way first, like not just be like, I'm going to have one conversation, it's going to be one and done, and instead be like, no, I'm going to try to establish a friendship, then they are much more likely to already be thinking this is a good guy.
Yeah.
So they're going to want to say yes.
It's kind of funny because it's literally the same way that I go about making deals in real estate.
I mean, it's
that.
people.
It's
People
like
are people.
Building rapport is key. First, you build that. And then once you have that rapport, once you have that status and that trust with them, that's when you ask.
Right.
For, what you're hoping for. And the reason is that now, you have trust with this person. But I think you hit on something key. People don't like to be used. Nobody likes to be sold.
Yeah.
And so the way that you achieve what your goal is that you establish that relationship first, which actually just requires a little bit of effort, mainly listening. And if
ask questions,
which
and listen,
I think
pay
that's the
attention and genuinely care about what that person is saying. So again, people are great at sniffing out hypocrisy, right? They're great at sniffing out someone who is
BS detectors.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Even you don't have to be trained in it. We're like, that person's fake. They care nothing. I mean, that's why we run from salespeople all the time, right?
Yep.
No matter how much they're like, I'm doing this for you. We're like, but you're not, right? Like, so I'd say before you ever even approach the conversation, you need to take a step back and be like, am I being completely self-serving in this moment? Right?
Well,
or do I genuinely want to try to be friendly? Like I said, it's not like you have to be besties.
That's what's hurt other people that have had like negative experiences is that from the get-go, it looks like they're like
I am only talking to you because I want this.
Yeah, I'm only going to talk to you right now because I know
like
that
I don't actually care about you that much.
I don't really
let's be honest.
But yeah, and so I think that's the reality of it is when you marry someone, you're not just marrying them. I mean, you are now part of their family.
Yeah.
You're going to be together at family functions. You're going to be doing life together. So it's really important that you connect with them to the best of your ability because you're going to have to be around this person. You know, the best, like the best thing for your future is to have a good relationship. Which, I mean,
as much as you can, as much as depends on you, right? Because we're not saying you can dictate how these other people respond. But
and just to like kind of let you guys know, so I remember talking with Stephanie's dad after we got married. It was like the first Christmas or first holiday back. And I was asking him how he's doing. He's like, I was struggling for a while there for months. He's like, I was super sad. I was like, gosh. He was so like, sad. He's like, I talked to my pastor and my pastor was like, yeah, it's kind of the same feeling as a death. And I was like, holy cow, man. But I think
I didn't know he had such a hard time.
Yeah, he did.
Especially because he never like said anything. And my dad was always like the tough guy.
Her dad would talk to me. So we had a very good relationship. He would talk to me about everything. We talked about all sorts of stuff, which was cool. I appreciate, I miss now. But
and we should say my dad didn't make friends easily.
No, he didn't.
He had friends that he'd had forever, but he was kind of like me. He made friends through other people. Or made friends by serving them in some way, right? Yeah. And then came to know them. But he's not overtly friendly when you first meet him. He could be kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
And so it's just showing all the more how when you presented, that you were interested and cared about him as a person, not just as hopefully your future father-in-law, that he, someone who's not just gonna open his life story to just anybody, became really, really good friends with you actually because you became that person for him.
Absolutely. And I think like the deal was too is that like, as we, kind of as we're married for longer, spent more time, I think, like it went from I'm not losing a daughter, I'm gaining a son to actually that being a real deal.
Felt real.
And it was cool. We had a great relationship. I had a very different relationship with him than I do with my dad, which I have a great relationship with my dad, but it was cool. We got along really well and it worked out good. But I think the reason that it worked out is because, I realized from the get-go that, hey, you're going to be in my life. So let's be buddies. Let's be friends. And you don't have to be buddy with your father-in-law.
Yeah.
You don't have to have that, but you just want
and not everybody's going to respond as well. And that's okay.
And not everybody. Yeah.
Because we know plenty of people who have in-laws who aren't as willing to have like a truly like friendly relationship.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like we're not saying it's immediately you're gonna turn into besties. But again, even the like most crotchety people will still respond and think positively toward you when you show a genuine interest in them. And it can still be those kind of people that you're like, I'm glad we don't live close, or I'm glad I can only do like 2 weeks of or whatever. And that's fine. Again, that's okay because all the relationships are going to be different. But if we're just talking about the types of relationships that are possible, right? And how that depends on you. So just your part of it is truly, I mean, honestly, it's being genuinely interested in that person. That makes a huge difference.
Yep. Yeah, having that interest in them and just keep it on, like,
If for no other reason than they helped raise and form this person that you're wanting to spend the rest of your life with. So that's pretty important.
So you have to kind of, sometimes you have to chip away at that.
Yeah, a little at a time.
Especially if these people
So
are kind of like, if they're closed off, they're quiet, if they're not sharers or something, it may take you time to develop that rapport. But, you know, if you're serious about wanting to have a long-lasting relationship with your, you know, spouse to be and all that, then the most important thing is for you to go ahead and put in that time.
Find out from your fiance, like, hey, what are some things that they're interested in? What are they passionate about? What's important to them? Like, get that information. And then try to cool. Like establish some rapport with them.
The other thing I'd say is it's not just about getting that initial blessing. You want to maintain and build that relationship. Exactly. And so, like, when we'd go on vacations, we went on a family cruise a while back. One of the days, like, her dad wanted to go fishing.
And I did not.
I
was like, I'm not going.
She did not.
I won't do it.
Didn't want to wake up early to go fishing.
Didn't want to wake up early. Didn't want to get seasick. I just don't want to do it.
But I went with him, and we had a great time. You know, we'd always talked about, like, stuff that we wanted to do together. And we did. We got to do that. We got to go dove hunting. We got to do a lot of fun stuff. And it's cool because as that relationship develops, you're like, oh, man, this is cool. You know, I have somebody that I can depend on, and, you know, vice versa to, you know, the day that I asked her to marry me. Very interesting story. So the day that I asked Stephanie to marry me was her birthday. So great timing there. It's always good. Got the ring as the birthday present.
23, right? I turned 23.
Yeah. She you just turned 23. Yeah, 23.
Just turned 23.
And so he had said the day before, he was like, you know, while you're here, I was thinking, and this was my second trip out, right?
Yeah.
This was my second trip meeting your dad. I think I actually told him about it the first time around because that was the
I don't know
fire. Anyways, but he was like, yeah, while you're here, I was thinking about slaughtering the steer, and it'd be nice because I know it's gonna be a lot of work. And I was like, never done that. Sounds awesome. Let's do it. Let's slaughter a steer. Let's do it. But he didn't like confirm it, so I wasn't sure.
Tell us when.
Like, he was just like, I'm just thinking, you know, while you're here. And so I'm like, yeah, cool. Next day, the day that I'm going to ask for her hand. And so I thought, like, maybe we might do some other stuff.
But you didn't tell him you were going to ask on my birthday. Like, you didn't give him a specific day.
I think I did.
Or did
actually.
you?
I think I did tell him.
And my dad's still like, there's time for that later.
Yeah, I don't think it clicked because I was like, I think I'm going to do it on her birthday.
That's fantastic.
And I had actually kind of told them the plan, like, I'm going to take her up the mountain. And but I walk out that morning, get up, you know, I'm looking for Stephanie, and walk outside. And I see him standing in front of the steer with the shotgun. Boom. Shoots the steer. I'm like, okay, all right.
So that's what we did.
Let me go get my
That's what we did
on.
that morning.
Let me go get everything ready to go. Oh, man. It was wild. But talk about memories. So we did that, and it was fun. We did a lot. We did a lot together. Had a lot of good times, and I think the more that you do that, the more things. It makes life better, makes it more enjoyable, and so it's cool. So yeah, I think in-laws can be great. Of course, we've also been through. I had the converse of that too.
Maybe that should be like a part 2.
Yeah.
My dad was great. Yeah. My stepmom, not so much.
Yeah. Now, it's not the case.
She's not my stepmom anymore.
Yeah, no, she's not. So,
praise the Lord.
Current mother-in-law.
It's awesome. Great.
Fantastic. Love her. First go round, not so much. But
that's one of those. Sometimes it's not. It has nothing to do with you, and it has everything to do with them. And you do the best. You just do what you can. Be genuinely interested. Be kind. Be genuine. And that's all you can. That's all you can do.
Yep. And I think when you do that, and so yeah, getting back to why communication is critical. I think we could talk more about that.
I feel like that's going to be like multiple podcasts on different things. We're inevitably going to come back to clear communication.
Yeah, this is just one of those areas where,
it's very important.
Communication, you got to start it. Starting it's the hardest part. Once you get the ball rolling, things get easier as you go, and it will get easier as you, learn.
Figure things out.
Yeah, because you got to figure out how people communicate, Sometimes just saying it isn't enough. Some like men, you have to interpret what your wife is saying.
Not in our relationship.
Not in ours, but ours is not like most.
That's true.
And even in ours, yes, sometimes there's some interpreting.
Sometimes.
I'm hungry means Devin figure out what I want to eat. And I'm pretty good about that. Pretty good. I got the skill in that department. But anyways, thank you guys for joining. Hey, if you like this episode, go ahead and hit the like button. Share it with your friends and family and those people that you know that are in that situation that could use a little boost. And hey, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Adios.
Bye.